In or out?
We're public right now, so.
Yeah,
Good.
so I'm going to be entering.
Okay, you can.
We're good. Good evening, Littleton, and welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, June 7th, 2021. To begin this evening's meeting, we will be entering into executive session, and then we will be convening an open session thereafter. So we're going to begin this evening's meeting by entering into executive session. If I could have a motion, please.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that the Select Board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 2, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the town's unions pursuant to Mass...
Can I just, and police chief. So
And
we can
police
do one
chief,
motion
yes,
for both.
okay. Yeah, and police chief pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, acquisition of property, and MGL, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 2, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiating a contract with non-union personnel. It was already in there, Anthony. Since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, and to convene an open session thereafter.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Aye.
What? Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Cindy Napoli is aye.
Nice to be here looking at you.
I know, right? Look at us.
now
Okay,
I throw
so
that.
the motion is approved as written. We will be back shortly. Thank you. Administrator, take- Good evening, Littleton, and welcome back to the Select Board meeting for Monday, June 7th, 2021. We're going to begin tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to everyone to remain standing, please. And before we begin our meeting, I'd like to enter into a moment of silence for two Massachusetts first responders who lost their lives in the line of duty this weekend. Worcester Police Officer Emmanuel Manny Familia and Braintree Police Officer Department K-9 Kit. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So we will begin tonight's meeting with organization, reading of the mail. That will be followed by approval of collective bargaining agreements. We have an execution of a memorandum of agreement with the police union, execution of the memorandum of agreement with the dispatch union, execution of the memorandum of agreement with the highway union, and execution of Chief Matthew Pernard's employment contract. We are still under discussions with respect to the fire union contract. We anticipate that that will be resolved this week and that we will approve that contract prior to town meeting on Saturday morning. Following that, we will have department board updates and requests. We have finance department approval of year-end transfers, and we have treasurer collector overview of lockbox system. That will be followed at 7 p.m. by public input and members' updates. At 7:10 p.m., we have appointments. for a variety of commission and committees. We have the Conservation Commission, Historical Commission, Disability Commission, Cultural Council, Zoning Board of Appeals, the Personnel Committee, Finance Committee, the Select Board appointee. That will be followed by, we have a public hearing at 7:30 PM for transfer station fees for fiscal year 2022. At 7:45 PM, we are scheduled for the annual town meeting warrant for June 12, 2021. Article 4, fiscal year 2022 operating budget. Article 8, fiscal year 2022 Park Recreation and Community Education Enterprise Fund operating budget. Article 14, fiscal year 2022 compensation grid. Article 16, fund collective bargaining. Article 25, fiscal year 2022 LCTV receipts reserved for appropriation from the Public Education and Government Access Fund. Article 30, zoning, Littleton Station 40R. Article 31, senior residential development apartments and amendments. At 8 PM, we're scheduled for the town administrator and assistant town administrator update. We have evaluation of assignments, town administrator, police chief, and fire chief. NAGOG Orchard contract extension, discussion regarding fire chief vacancy, interim hiring process. Update on Cooper Farm, finance department transition, interim finance director. Reopening of town offices, buildings for meetings. Soil remover permit amendment regarding 9 Air Road. At 8:20, we are scheduled to review our meeting minutes from May 24th, 2021, and then we anticipate on adjourning our meeting for this evening. So if you could start us off with the mail, Mr. Ansaldi?
Sure, Madam Chair, we have two things. In the packet, there was an email that was received from Don Armstrong in support of the pollinator resolution that's being considered at the town meeting. He wanted to share their Facebook account is facebook.com/Littleton Pollinators for information. In addition, it's the Coming Out Across the Generations Part 2 series. It's presented by EHS, Minuteman Senior Services, First Baptist Church of Littleton, First Church Unitarian, and the Congregational Church of Littleton. It's stories of coming out experience shared by individuals across various generations. There will also be time for discussion. The program will be facilitated by Pastor Nancy Wilbanks from the First Baptist Church in Littleton.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda, we have the collective bargaining agreements. Do you want to
Sure, I'll start it off,
provide an update,
Chief.
please?
Madam Chair, I'm pleased to report that we've reached an agreement with the police union, which are here today, and I just want to say that how appreciative I was to work with them and Chief Penard, because they really understood the challenges that that we are facing as a community. And you know, once again, our police is always there. It's first on scene, and they're first to settle a contract too. So thank you for your effort and partnership in this. I know at times it's difficult for all of us, but I think we worked through them, and I appreciate everything you guys did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Chief Penard?
Madam Chair, you have the union president here, Patrick O'Donoghue. Patrick will be back next week to work. He's been on a little injured reserve, but he'll be back next week, thank God. Sergeant Boussier, he's also here from the union. We did have a few other officers. Tell us what. Officer Jared Richard, I'm sure many familiar with. Officer Elia Zabu, and Sergeant Mark Scola. I wanted to come and say thanks. Appreciate the help.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
You want to
And
say
thank you.
You guys want to say it?
Yep.
Patty, you want to say?
It's very rare that you can settle a contract without attorneys getting involved and both sides arguing and conflict after conflict after conflict. We met half a dozen times, back and forth a few times, but again, the cooperation with both the town and the members of the police department and negotiating boards went amazing. We're happy. I believe the patrolmen are happy with everything. There's been no complaints. And I just want to, sincerely, it's been a crazy, tough year, and I want to thank every single one of you for working with us, and especially Chief Penard. I think his year was challenging enough with the COVID and everything else, and then putting on top of it, negotiations, it's time consuming and it's a lot of work. So again, I want to sincerely thank every one of you for always supporting our police department. We have a great bunch of guys and girls. I'd say one of the best in the area. And again, it's kudos to who leads this department. And again, it's again, I want to thank everybody for the easy negotiation process that we went through, and we're happy to be the first to sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
It's mutual.
Yep, excellent. And we just, from the board, would just like to say thank you for all that you do. We know it has not been an easy year for your department specifically, and so we're certainly as appreciative of you as you are of the town of Littleton. So thank you sincerely for everything that you do for our community.
Well, our motion is a blanket motion covering the various
Okay.
bargaining units, but hang in there a minute or two and you'll hear the words spoken.
Okay, excellent.
And for the communications center, the union president is Kelly Young. Kelly is actually here tonight. As you know, 3 years ago when we had a change in the guards, we went to a 2-person dispatch in there for everything except for the midnight shift. We're noticing an uptick of that now, so over the next couple of years, we're probably going to go for a 2-person dispatch, 24 hours. But Kelly, you want to come and say a few words?
Thank you. So I just want to start by thanking each one of you for all your support over the years, especially this last year. And communications has been especially challenging with a lot that we've been through. A lot of calls during the peak of COVID when we had to deal with the Life Care Center and a lot of things that we, a lot of calls coming in. We don't mind that. That's why we do what we do. But from the bottom of my heart and all my fellow communication specialists, I just want to say thank you, and thank you to the chief, with all the meetings that we've had, and I just want to thank you again for your support, because it means a lot when we're sitting in there and doing our job and protecting the town of Littleton. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, they were fantastic to deal with as well. So they were right after, they followed the police department throughout the negotiation process. And Kelly, thank you for everything that you guys did. I appreciate working. Thank you. Next up, we have the Highway Department. Chris started. We have reached an agreement with the Highway Department as well. They're supposed to be here. I'm not.
Actually, I think somebody's walking in. They're walking in right now.
Okay. 6:30, they're right
Start a
on
little
time.
bit, yeah. A little ahead of schedule. Sign language.
Great at charades.
I still wouldn't be getting that. We have some people walking in.
Yeah,
Or is it the Highway Department?
yeah.
So Ben,
Okay.
it's like a parade.
So I guess we can start. So, yeah, we start over again.
Here they are.
There they are.
Yeah, so obviously, like the police and dispatch, that's hopefully a successful negotiation here. I think we met probably 4 or 5 times. We were a little far apart at the beginning, but we all worked together, sacrificed a little bit on each end, and I think we came to a really good agreement. I can introduce the representatives of the highway department. This is the president, or chairman, Nick Rochon. Vice Chair, Derek Kelson. Secretary, Ben Anderson. And this is their union representative.
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones, thank you, I'm sorry.
Easy name to forget.
Yeah, exactly. If I can say, Madam Chair, as we did go around and around a little bit, but I think that we reached a place where we were all comfortable with, and, our highway union is really, I call the silent guardians of law enforcement in a way, because we consider them public safety, but they don't get the same perks as police and fire do. And certainly, they do just as much recognition as the police and fire, because they are always there. And in order to get in here, if it's snowing, they're plowing our roads, they're dealing with all issues as well, just like police and fire. So I'm very appreciative of what they do, and working through this contract and understanding the situation that we were in. Of course, we would have liked to do more. It's just we weren't able to at this point in time, but they understood that. I really appreciate them. I just want to share that.
Excellent, agreed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for all that you do.
Nick, you want to say anything here?
You don't have to. Sure.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
So yeah, like Anthony and Chris were saying, we kind of went around and around and landed on a few things. The memberships unhappy with, a few things they're happy with. It's all, an adjustment period. But the only problem we have right now is Friday, new language was added to an agreement that we, ipso facto, signed earlier in the week. Shook hands on it. Tonight was supposed to be the signing of it. So we're figuring, as a membership, we like to add a bit of verbiage. Being that some was added, we'll add. And if not, membership's going to want to re-vote on verbiage added.
Okay. Do you have any, can you elaborate on that, Mr. Ansaldi?
No, unfortunately, I can't. Why don't we meet then tomorrow and work out any difference, and then we'll have to hold this to Saturday as well.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of any issue.
Yeah, it was brought up to me today.
Okay. All right. So you work on that this week, and then we'll hopefully have an agreement, and we can vote on it Saturday morning?
I'm sure we will.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Sir?
Nick, will membership be able to get together and take a vote before Saturday morning? Because what we would plan on doing then is having a meeting before town meeting on Saturday morning to, assuming we come to an agreement and membership agrees to it, we would take the vote that we were going to take tonight, we would take that on Saturday morning.
We should, as far as I know, everybody's here this week, so we should be able just to pull them in on pretty much short notice and just ask them to re-vote on it.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Thanks, Nick.
Derek?
Is there a way we can sidebar and then maybe come to an agreement tonight?
It's a pretty simple thing if we can just take 2 seconds with.
Going to go out there and joking.
Yeah, that's fine.
We
Yeah,
can
if you think
get this
so.
done tonight. It's just something really simple.
Okay. All right. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
All right.
Just going through some of the other.
I'm just gonna use yours since you have PowerPoint already.
Yep. You just got to pop it over.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Hit the gas there, Joe.
See how many wheels we get done here.
Find out where the Bruins fans in the room are.
Okay. So you want to just table this whole section for now until Chuck and Anthony come back?
Yeah, I mean, that,
Yeah. And then,
the question ends up being, because then we do have execution of Chief Matthew Pinard's employment contract.
right. Okay, so we could,
We could do some of the items under the TA, ATA.
yeah.
We could easily do that.
Minutes.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Can't we do the chief's contract?
I suppose, sure. I have the language here, and,
Okay, so then we do that, and then they don't
Yeah.
have to wait around.
all right. So, of course, the folks that worked with the chief, who, were you involved with that, somebody?
It was myself and Mr. Knox.
Yeah, okay, fine. Then
Yes.
You guys can speak to it, and I'll just make the motion when you're ready for it.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it was a very easy discussion, I believe. I think Mr. Knox will agree with me. We are very grateful for the working relationship that we have with Chief Bernard. The board sincerely appreciates everything that you do and your ongoing willingness to communicate openly with us, even when we don't, your proactive approach with the board. It's very much appreciated, and we certainly appreciate what you do and what your department does across the board. So as far as the negotiations were concerned, it was really just changing some language around, defining certain areas of the previous contract, which were a little wordy in some areas, so we kind of just streamlined it. And, it was really just, it was an easy conversation, and I believe that the board was in full consensus, when we came back and brought back the contract for the board's consideration. So there was no issues to be found. So thank you again for all that you do and all that your department does, and it's a pleasure working with you, and, very happy that we have this contract in place, so.
Thank you. I'm ecstatic that we were able to do it. Like I said earlier to you, the first 3 years, baptized by fire, and it's gone by like that, the first 3 years, and now I'm excited to be signing another 3 years with you. I really am. Thank you.
Great, excellent.
All right, then, Madam Chair, I'll move that the Select Board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Sections 97A and 108-0, to authorize execution of the following with Matthew J. Pennard of Lunenburg, Mass. A, an employment contract as Chief of Police for the period July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Excellent,
Congratulations.
excellent. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
We can shake hands now.
We can. I know, right?
Strange times, huh?
It is. You're welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's stand there.
Excellent. All right, good. Okay, so we could do meeting minutes next?
Absolutely.
All right, so we have meeting minutes from May 24th, 2021. Did everyone have a chance to review those, and were there any suggested changes?
A couple typos, but nothing, nothing substantive.
Okay,
Mr. Stoddard was referred to as Christ at one point, which I thought was a little bit amusing. But that was the only really egregious one I found.
okay. All right,
All right, then with, I missed that. The aforementioned biblical reference notwithstanding, I'll move that the Select Board vote to approve the regular session meeting minutes of May 24th, 2021.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved as written. And now we can go on to,
Joe,
else was under the TA.
Well, we get the Nagog Orchard thing.
Why don't we
It's pretty quick.
handle-
We can dispose of that quickly.
We can
Okay.
handle B, D, and then F.
Run, yeah, have at it.
Okay.
So for Nagog Orchard, was hoping that we'd actually have a little bit more to review with the board tonight. The proponent who responded to the RFP has retained counsel. We've been communicating back and forth over the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, we don't have something to bring back in front of the board at this time. Hopefully for the next meeting on the 21st, we'll have something that then we can bring forward for some sort of action or update.
Okay,
There's some sort of delay on his end that isn't involving us. It's with the
Correct.
Department of Labor, and I think it might have to do with the transition from one entity to the next entity, but,
okay.
we're just kind of looking to finalize things, but it's all contingent on each other.
Okay, all right. And then item D,
Okay, so just an update for Cooper Farmhouse. Back 2 meetings ago, we had amended the HCA for the Cooper Farmhouse. Within that was the payment of $350,000 for an affordable unit to the Affordable Housing Trust. We have received those funds and provided the deed. So that's something that at least we are now at a standpoint of completing that the conditions under that amended HCA. And pleased to report that at least now we can provide that money to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund so that we can go and support affordable housing within Littleton.
Okay, all right, excellent. All right, good. So we're
I
all
think we're
set?
good to go.
Okay.
It's, Anthony.
Nice job, Joe.
So we're good to move forward as long as that clarification, they're comfortable with us moving forward.
Comfortable signing. It was just explaining some language. We're
Some
fine.
language need to be clarified?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing changed?
So we can,
Really, nothing changed, just a couple of words. And,
Okay.
Clarification line.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
So Anthony, you're comfortable with
Legal
us moving
language
forward with the
versus-
motion then? All right.
yes.
okay, all right, excellent.
So my motion then will incorporate the 3 contracts that we consider settled.
Yes,
Okay.
Just mentioned, yes.
yep.
Okay, then I will move that the Select Board vote to ratify 3-year contracts with A, the Littleton Police Unit, Massachusetts Coalition of Police Local 204, B, the Littleton Dispatch Unit, MassCop Local 204A, and D, ASME Council 93, Local 1703, for the period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, including salary schedule adjustments of 1% in year 1, 1.5% in year 2, and 2% in year 3. And further to vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 105E, Section 7B, to submit to the June 12th, 2021 annual town meeting a request for appropriations necessary to fund cost items contained therein.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved as written.
Yay.
Excellent.
Congratulations,
All right, great.
all.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. Pleasure, yeah.
Good to see you.
Patrick, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Ed, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you gotta come up to it.
I'm Matthew.
You work them over in the hall, did you? Thank
I
you.
told him I thought you were going to throw me in the compact.
you do.
Transfer station.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
See ya. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
It's like being a mouse, up and down.
Thank you.
As long as I don't have to kneel.
Thanks. All right, excellent. Okay,
You finished, Joe?
Yep.
We can go?
Right.
Everything's done.
Motion to adjourn.
all right, excellent. So now we are on to item 4.
Probably.
4A, Finance Department approval of year-end transfers.
So, Madam Chair, Cheryl, Joe, is she?
Yes, I'm bringing her in.
Okay. So what Cheryl's going to talk about is just some year-end transfers. She's happy to go through it line by line with everything that was in her memo, or if you have questions, it's whatever the pleasure of the board is. Cheryl will gladly go through.
I need to be co-host to that, Cheryl.
The hybrid Zoom meetings.
I know.
We'll get better at it.
Okay, so Cheryl and Sean will be joining us.
All right. Hi, Cheryl.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's like going to
So like
Godzilla.
Anthony, these are our typical end-of-year transfers that we do every year. As you know, the Selbrd and Finance
I'm texting her.
transfer appropriations within the last 2 months of the fiscal year. This year for FY21, did a total of $205,300 transfers.
Cheryl, can you hold up for a minute, please?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Just hang on
We
one
can
second.
hear you, just not clearly.
Yeah.
Can't see you.
Sorry.
Oh, there. I wonder if it's on the monitor now.
Over those speakers. What if I add my speakers?
You're gonna get a reverb.
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yes,
Ah, that's better.
Give us a little test 1, 2.
that's 1, 2.
It's a little louder.
It's a little better. Okay.
I'll yell to the best of my ability.
Okay, excellent.
We all know I.
Channel Chuck.
So sorry.
That's all you had to do.
Typical year-end transfers that we have every year, that the Select Board and Finance Committee are allowed to do in the last 2 months of the fiscal year, is appropriate appropriations to budgets that need it. This year, we have $205,300 in transfers.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to answer any questions or go line by line if you would like.
I think it'd be helpful if you could just go line by line.
Sure.
Okay.
So the first one is town meeting expenses, requesting a transfer in of $10,000. And it's for, additional pages in our annual town report, extra costs for producing that. The next is and just stop me if you have additional questions.
Okay.
The next is the town administrator wages, a transfer in of $80,000 for contractual and end of employment costs. The next is $8,100, again, for contractual and end of employment costs. Transfer in. Transfer out of the treasurer wages of $12,000, which is under budgeted due to the vacancies, which then results in a transfer into the treasurer's expenses for $12,000 for professional services. Public buildings expense, a transfer in of $16,000. This is for unexpected repairs and increased water costs. Police salaries, transfer out of $50,000. This was something that Chief Bernard presented to the Select Board and Finance Committee, and then a transfer in of that $50,000 to their expense line. A transfer in of $2,400 to the building expenses due to unexpected car repairs. The next one is kind of just an accounting fix here. It's a transfer into the Clean Lakes wage line of $13,500, and we're transferring it out of the Clean Lakes expense line. The next is a transfer in of $2,500 to cemetery wages. Again, it was for an accounting correction due to where they're charging their overtime, and then it's a transfer out of that $2,500 out of their expense line to cover that. A transfer out of EHS wages of $10,800, again due to vacancy, which then is a transfer into the EHS expense line for interim consulting hours. And then a transfer out of our employee benefits of $116,500 due to low endorsement changes and credits that we received.
Okay, excellent. Any questions from the board?
I'm curious why the town report was so much more expensive than usual. Does anyone
Yeah, I mean,
know?
I think it's just really the number of pages, graphics. I mean, it's not just the town report. We have some other expenses as well too, associated with the various town meetings. But I think it's just, our warrant is a lot bigger this year as well too. So those costs add up.
Okay.
Rental of some of the equipment, maybe chairs, that kind of thing too.
Yes, I mean, a lot of it is covered by CARES. Anything that we could kind of categorize as CARES. We are, but we did just have some additional expenses.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Ready for
Is there a
motions?
motion?
Yep.
Please.
I'll move that the Select Board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 33B, to approve year-end transfers between various line items of the fiscal year 2021 budget as recommended by the Finance Director in the memorandum dated June 2, 2021.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved as written.
She was going to do the roll call.
I know, I can't help it. I want to do the roll call. Okay, so motion is approved as written. Thank you very much, Cheryl, for your work on that and the explanation. Next, we have department board updates and requests, treasurer collector overview of lockbox system.
Yeah, so Sean's here, and he's going to talk about what you originally heard as part of the finance department reorganization was really outsourcing that function that we used to do inside as far as processing the real estate tax payments and the bills. So what we did is, that was one of the things we talked about, is outsourcing that with Century Bank. So Sean is just going to give a little bit of update, especially with the bills. People may just see a little different address that you have to mail stuff to. So, Sean?
Yeah, definitely. Just to build off Anthony's comments there, we contracted with Century Bank over the winter to start on the lockbox setup process. So I have a quick presentation to run through. I'll just share my screen real quick to go over the services provided. A lot of the benefits that we will likely see out of this is that a lot of the processing that usually comes to town hall will be handled at Century Bank in the Reading Processing Center. It's a pretty high-tech facility that takes the bills that are sent by our deputy collector and matches them up and scans them and applies them to the payment to the correct parcel or customer. So it should help to reduce time on a lot of those one-to-one issues. Obviously, we're still going to have, the customer service aspects, but this might take care of some of the day-to-day stuff that becomes, burdensome in-house. So we're happy to be going forward with it, and we should be able to, we're on track to have everything sent out by the end of June with the new remit to addresses Anthony pointed out. So what the bills will look like, we'll say remit to Town of Littleton, P.O. Box 882 in Reading, Mass. So this is different from what we previously sent out with the 37 Shattuck remit address. So it'll be a little different, but it'll help with the workload at Town Hall. Some of the other things that we're working on is making the public aware on the website, as well as providing outreach to EHS and likely the library, just so that we can get as much awareness and push people to the services, because they'll really help out with the finance department. I'd like to thank Debbie Richards and Cindy Fleet for really helping me out and put this together, and excited to see how it goes moving forward.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Sean. Any questions from the board?
I'm curious how much it costs and how it's billed.
Sean?
Yeah, it's on the fee for check basis, and we have a contract in place not to exceed $5,000. So we really think we'll get good return on that, and really don't feel like we'll get to that mark either. So
That seems very reasonable.
Yeah, considering we actually used to get trays of mail and somebody would sit there with the letter opener.
Yeah.
We found extra time in their workday by outsourcing that at the small fee, so
Yeah.
it really made a lot
Good
of
deal.
sense.
Okay,
Cool.
great. Mr. Levy?
Sean, thank you for taking the lead on this. A couple of, just an obvious question. I apologize if I actually might have raised it before. In looking at Century Bank and their branches, I know they don't want to be dealing with any customers coming through the door. I mean, it'll all be through the phone and mail and internet if there is any problems. But is there a reason why you settle with them? Is this something that's a specialty within banking, or were any local banks considered?
yeah, so we use them for the light and water departments for some of their 2 lockbox accounts for them, but and also calling with other treasurer collectors. The feedback I got was overwhelmingly positive. So I'm really excited to see how the workday changes and see what benefits we can achieve through contracting out. So Lockbox is just sort of, with Century, is one of the leaders, not only in government, but also in the private sector too, so.
Yep. And at the Light and Water Departments, we're all used to making that check, but some people put their physical checks in envelopes there. Is that protocol going to be followed here for those who individually pay their property taxes and excise taxes here?
So we can still accept checks here if someone brings it in, we'll accept the payment. It's more of just, we're pushing it to Century for most of the.
Yeah, you'll probably get 90% plus of your volume will go through the mail just because it's being paid from bank to bank in a lot of cases anyways, right? Through escrow accounts and the like.
Yeah, like we'll get a lot through CoreLogic, Wells Fargo, but this is more for, I guess, if you paid off your mortgage and you have your quarterly tax bill, you can mail it through to Century rather than to Town Hall. Okay. So it should cut down a sizable chunk of the mail opening and processing the mail checks in-house.
And you aware, I assume you have a comfort level in talking to some of your peers that use this system already in other communities, that in practice it works well?
Yeah, no, I've heard from a few. One of them I worked with previously, and she's the treasure collector in Weston, and she gave rave reviews on it too. So, I was confident moving forward with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul, in my experience in the last community, we used Century Bank, and what I liked about it too is when the world kind of stopped back in March, the biggest concern was we got to get that property taxes in to pay our bills. Right. So by having Century Bank, there was a little delay at first for a couple of weeks till they figured out their process, but we were getting the checks in timely, which is really important, especially in some communities where you're relying upon that quarter to pay the quarter bills, so.
Yeah, and I did note in your report there, too, that you're going to have end-of-the-day reporting from Century to the Treasurer's office. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. I just assume that for the public who might be wondering, how does this affect me, they might want to hear, some comforting words about it all. So that's terrific.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean.
Excellent. Thank you. You're welcome.
Piggybacking on what Paul had said about the individual that does like to come down to Town Hall and pay the bill or drop it in the box, I'm glad to hear that there is a system in place for people to still do that. Not that we're going to encourage people to do that, but I think as much education we can do on the front end to let people know that this is the system. I know that I've spoken with the collector in Dedham, and when they implemented this, they're using a service out of, I think, Danvers. Can't remember the name of it. But they had some hiccups with, people would send their check to the town hall, and it didn't get to the town hall, and then through the Danvers process in time, and so they went past due. So I'm hoping that some of those issues, they've been doing it for a few years now, so I think they've ironed out all their problems. I'm hoping that we can learn on the backs of some of the other communities and municipalities that have already done this, and we're prepared to answer those phone calls and hopefully eliminate any of those problems for our residents.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, great. Great work, Sean. Thank you so much.
I don't believe this requires any vote.
No, it's just information.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent.
See you Saturday.
Send our thanks to Cindy and Michelle as well, or Debbie.
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. So next on the agenda, we have public input and members' updates. Do we have anyone for our public input?
Let me get to that screen. Currently, we do not have anyone with a hand raised for public input.
Okay, so we'll go on to member updates. We'll start with Mr. Nordhaus.
As you know, I'm on the Housing Authority, and we had our annual elections. I'm the new chair, and Bartlett Harvey is the co-chair. And we had a very interesting meeting because for the first time that I've been on there, we've had a budget, like a detailed budget analysis with the accountant from DHCD. And I think that I'm looking forward to digging into that and trying to find some funds to spend on maintenance and upgrading. Right now, it's a little tight because we're spending on legacy pensions and retirement benefits, which takes up most of our budget. And the other news is the community room is back open at the Housing Authority after more than a year, and the residents are thrilled to death. It's been a long time, and they really are excited about it.
Excellent. Mr. Knox?
All set, thank you.
Mr. DeCoste?
Just wanted to give a shout out to all of our graduates. This past Saturday was a 174th, you'd remember, right?
No, that's Mr. Knox.
It was a great ceremony. It was held on Alumni Field. There was a nice breeze, actually. We were blessed to have a breeze. It was pretty hot in the field, but the breeze was coming through, and it was a great day. Also want to give a shout out to our spring athletes. The baseball team went 3-11. Softball team went 11-1 and ended up being their pod champions. Boys lacrosse went 6-6. Girls lacrosse went 6-6. Outdoor track, boys and girls both went 6-0 and were their pod champs. And boys tennis went 10-0 and were their pod champs, and girls tennis went 7-3. And there's a bunch of playoffs going on this week for a number of the teams, and just want to give a shout out to them. And those kids have persevered, and it certainly was different playing with masks on, but they adapted really well. And they hats off to MIAA, Mike Lynn, all the athletes, all the coaches, and families and whatnot for supporting them all. So.
Excellent.
Nothing.
Mr. Brady? Nothing. I just have two things. One is to remind residents that town meeting is this Saturday on Alumni Field at, is it 9 a.m.?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. We hope residents will come out and participate and let their voice be heard, their vote be counted this Saturday town meeting. And also the Sleep in Heavenly Peace Build event is also this Saturday afternoon at Littleton Lumber. So if anyone is interested, please feel free to stop by and help build some beds for some children in our community who don't have any. So that is all. Thank you.
No one sleeps on the floor.
No one sleeps on the floor in our town. All right, excellent. So now we are on to appointments. We have numerous committee and board appointments here. It appears, going through the list, that these are all recurring applicants, that there's no new applicants coming before us. I know in the past, to expedite this, we really just kind of streamlined the process. If they were applicants that have already been serving on the board or committee, if there was nobody new that we wanted to hear from or why they would be interested. So I don't know what the board's favor is.
I'd like to hear about the new guy on Conscom.
Do you know him?
That name
The
is
old guy,
familiar.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know if he is on the call this evening or not.
Bring him on in.
Am I reading that correctly, that Jim Pickett is stepping down?
Yes, so after 42 years.
Yeah.
There's some new dude just logged in.
I don't know. He looks familiar.
Hey guys, how's it
Hey.
going?
We got a lot of questions for you, Gerbic.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Hasn't cut his hair since he left the board, looks like.
No, I don't think I have.
Got a little grayer,
Put
too.
on a couple pounds too.
Chuck's just jealous. So how are you, Chase?
Not gray, I'm putting on the weight.
No,
I've
it's
done
the
both.
hair. You're jealous of the hair.
That was Paul. I didn't go there.
So
I'm
good
doing
evening.
good. How are you guys holding up?
Doing good.
Good. So we see that you submitted an application for the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, big shoes to fill if you guys choose to appoint me. Jim's decades of service. I make no promises that I can do as good of a job representing the various histories of every parcel in town that Jim knows, but I'll do my best to fill those big shoes.
Excellent.
Well, you did good work when you were on there before. Happy to have you back.
Yep, absolutely. Excellent.
right.
Any questions for Chase?
What's
Oh, we
that?
have him? Nope.
Okay, yeah, we're going to do a blanket motion for each of
Yeah.
the boards in question.
It's good to see you, Chase. Thank you
Chase,
very
thanks
much.
for stepping up again, yeah.
Appreciate it.
And just to clarify, before I make the motion, the recommendation from the Conservation Commission, I'm sure everybody's read it in their report, is reappointments for Julia Rupp and Carl Melberg, as well as the appointment of former member and former selectman, select board member Chase Gerbig to the full positions, and the reappointment of Matthew Cahill for an associate position.
And that's Matthew Cahill's, that was his expectation, too.
Right, yeah, his letter indicated that as much, yeah.
Right. And so the only thing that we didn't talk about was the personnel committee?
Well,
Oh, you're just doing...
You're doing one of the... at a
Oh, you're
time.
doing, I thought you were doing a blanket. Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
I could do that, I just didn't get into the others yet.
Okay,
but,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll move that the board vote to appoint Julia Rupp, Carl Melberg, Chase Gerbig to terms on the Conservation Commission, as well as Matthew Cahill as an associate member in the Conservation Commission for terms ending on,
June 30th, 2024.
okay, yeah, all right, for June 30th, 2024. For a 3-year term or otherwise specified or in, okay, yep, that's.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved as stated by Mr. Glavy, and now we are on to Historical Commission. Again, it's all,
Yeah, there's three individuals that are up, and all three are seeking reappointment.
Right.
Rachel Robinson, Andrew Watt, and Andrew Samarco.
yep, excellent.
Okay, and they're all, yeah, that's an easy one there. I think unless anybody has any particular questions, I will move that the select board vote to appoint Rachel Robinson, Andrew Watt, and Andrew Samarco to terms on the Disability Commission.
Historical.
I'm sorry, Historical Commission. They're not listed in the same order on the motion as it is on the...
That's right, you may, if you want to just...
Well, then I
All
gotta
right.
put my glasses on and read that. On the Historical Commission for terms expiring on June 30th, 2024.
Second? Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved as written, and I'd just like to remind everybody, too, to go get sworn in after you're appointed by the Select Board with the town clerk, and you are not permitted to participate in any meeting officially with any committee that you're appointed to, unless you get appointed by the town clerk, and you have 14 days to do so.
I
Thank you.
think if you're an incumbent, you can, for instance, the CONSCOM has a meeting tonight, so I think the members of the CONSCOM, they're basically grandfathered for those 14 days, but like Mr. Gerbig in this instance, although he's coming back to that board, he would not be able to
Right, because,
offer his, he would
Yeah.
not be able to serve on that committee tonight until he is sworn in
Okay.
as a new member.
thank you for clarifying. Okay.
Next one is the Disability Commission. There's
Yep.
one individual, Luigi Caviello. Wow, I
How
butchered
can
his
you
Italian
not,
name.
exactly.
Just don't tell my parents, will you?
Iacovello.
Icavello.
All right, yeah, and Luigi did reach out and say he had a conflicting meeting tonight, can't make it, but
Okay.
is very much interested. Move that the select board vote to appoint Luigi Iacovello to a term on the Disability Commission for a term expiring, and this one has a different expiration. It does, are these all 2024 unless you
24,
say, no,
yes.
this other way, okay. For a term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved as written, and now we are on to the...
Cultural Council.
Cultural Council.
You can appoint up to 22 members. There's three up, Kimberly Abatelli, Heidi Montanari, and Laurie Yates, of which only Kimberly Albertelli is seeking reappointment, as well as Kerry McEachern and Andrew Zuniga.
Okay, so Kerry and Andrea are
Andrew.
new, is it Andrea? or-
Yeah, Andrea, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I said it wrong first.
Yeah, are new applicants?
And do have Andrea and,
And Kerry?
believe, yes.
Okay. Be nice to meet them.
Yeah, can I just clear up something on Kim Albertelli? Just, the Cultural Council has a funny little thing in the law there that they can only serve for 2 terms, and then they have to go off for a year and come back. So she's just finishing up her first term, is that correct, Joe or Anthony? Are we? Yeah, okay, great, so she's still eligible, right? All right, yeah. So, Madam Chair, you want to meet the...
Please,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, Andrea, I let you into the meeting.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, I'm Andrea Zuniga. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for submitting an application for the Cultural Council. If you could just share a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to serve on this committee, that'd be wonderful.
Of course, thank you. I'm a new resident of Littleton. I'm very excited to be here. And for many years, I've been part of different cultural programs, counseling, a lot of community and grassroots work in different cities where I lived, and now I'm here permanently because we are purchased a home. Currently, I work as the Executive Director of the Visual Performing Arts Department for Cambridge Public Schools, overseeing visual arts, theater, dance, music, and everything that's encompassed in the arts for anything that is in the school district, programs before, after school, extracurricular, during school, as well as any partners that come from outside of the district to work within the city with any education. So I've served on different types of mass cultural voting and grants reviews. I've had a lot of experience in that area, and I would really love to be able to take some of those skills I've learned and support and help my new town, as well as learn more about my new town and be able to be of service.
That's excellent, Andrea. Thank you so much for sharing your background. Certainly excited to have you part of this committee based on your background and what you shared with us tonight. And welcome to Littleton. Thank you for coming forward and wanting to be more engaged with the community and getting to know more about our town. So, your town, everyone's town. So, thank you.
Sounds like a little bit of a square peg, round hole, but we'll figure it out. That sounds like a great fit.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
And then, Madam Chair, we also have Kerry on the call as well.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I've been in town for 12 years. Andrea's like really set the bar high, so I can't quite reach her.
Good luck, Gary.
But I've lived here since 2009. I have two sons in the school district, and I was on the board of Cannon Theater in Littleton for a couple of years as their secretary. And I'm just a big fan of the arts, big supporter of the arts, mostly theater, but excited for any type of opportunity to be a supporter and a proponent of art initiatives in Littleton. And I love the town we're in, and when this opportunity came up, it's an opportunity to participate more in the town and get to know folks more in the area and see what other things we can bring to continue to enrich the opportunities and offerings within Littleton. I'm jumped at the chance, and I just really appreciate the time today to meet everybody.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for stepping forward and seeing an opportunity and applying for the Cultural Council. Happy to have you on board and be part of this group. Looking forward to working with you in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Excellent.
Ready for a motion, Madam Chair? Okay, then I'll move that the Select Board vote to appoint Andrea Zuniga, Carrie McEachern, and to a second term, Kimberly Albertelli, to terms on the Cultural Council, expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Motion is approved as written. And now we are on to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Hey, Madam Chair, we have three. We have a full membership in Cheryl Hollinger and alternates Kathleen O'Connor and Jillian Shaw.
Okay.
And those are all current members, correct?
Correct.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Okay. Unless the board wants any further discussion on it, I'm ready to move.
Please.
Okay, I'll move that the Select Board vote to appoint Cheryl Hollinger to a full position and Kathleen O'Connor and Jillian Shaw alternate positions to the Zoning Board of Appeals for terms expiring, they all expire the same year, 2024, yeah,
Yes.
June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved as written.
Madam Chair, the next one is the Personnel Committee. There is one appointment, position up, and that's Bill Schmidt. He's seeking reappointment to the Personnel Committee.
Okay.
There's also the selectman's appointee on there, which is myself.
Right, I was gonna actually put those in for the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, I was gonna recommend that we hold on this anyway, because with our bylaw, the proposal, which was withdrawn, which we're anticipating bringing back in the fall, that would affect the length of these terms. I wonder whether we should have council look at that in
Right.
case there's something we need to do with the motion before we finalize that.
Right.
Yeah, good point, Paul.
Yeah.
I can find that out, and we can just put it
Yeah,
up
well,
for
we're
the
gonna be
next
doing
meeting.
another session of these anyways on the
Yes.
21st
Yeah,
anyway.
so we're going to hold on that one.
I'll get clarification from
Okay.
council.
Thank you. And next we are on to FinCom.
FinCom, one appointment, the selectman's appointee, Greg Champney, and he's looking to be reappointed.
Excellent.
Good. I'd heard he was toying with the idea of not doing it again, so I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, he's going to.
It's been persuaded.
Good. Had to do that a few times over the years with the right
Yeah,
people.
it's great news.
It's good pay.
All right. Yeah. All right, then, without any further discussion, I will move that the Select Board vote to appoint Greg Champney to a term on the Finance Committee expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So Mr. Champney is continuing on FinCom. That's excellent news. And now we are on to, we're a little bit early for
That's
our
fine.
public
We
hearing. It's 7:30. Look at us.
That town meeting warrant stuff won't take long, Anthony, right? Isn't that stuff we've already covered? largely?
Yeah, so I can explain that. With the, because we settled up with the collective bargaining agreements, that actually changed a number of financial articles. So Article 4, obviously the operating budget needed to be adjusted. Article 8 is the Park and Rec funds, Park and Rec Commission, Park and Rec for their budget. Article 14 is the new FY '22 compensation grid, which is the 1%. So the Personnel Committee will be voting on recommending a 1% for non-union as well, to go inside with the union agreements. Article 25 is LCTV's budget. Article 30 was recommending no action. Planning Board is recommending no action on the Littleton Station 40R. And Article 31 just reflects a change because it referenced the 40R article. So that was, that language was stricken out of that article. So they're in, the new articles are in your packet, and then you would just also need to just give a new recommendation because you made recommendations based on the original articles and they have changed.
Okay. All right, so any questions or comments from the board on these amendments, changes? Okay.
Do over.
Yeah, and the language does include both the amendment and the support language. So I'll move that the Select Board vote to support the amended articles numbers 4, 8, 14, 16, 25, and 31 for the June 12th, 2021 annual and special town meeting as printed in the draft 2021 annual town meeting handout.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved as written. Excellent.
Madam Chair, can I ask a clarifying question about one of the appointments? In looking at this control sheet for the Historical Commission, I see that Andrew San Marco's address is listed as 20 Foster Street. I think probably some of the fire department would be surprised that he's living at the fire department. So I assume that's a typo,
Yeah,
but...
he's on
sneaky, that
Goldsmith
one.
Street. I thought I saw a reference, he's definitely on Goldsmith
He's on
Street.
Yeah, I'm sure that was just a.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that might have been a cut and paste from Diana.
Fair
We'll
enough.
fix that.
Okay, that's all.
Good catch.
Although they are looking for call firefighters.
You know why? Because I live on Star Hill, and I was like, 20 Foster Street, I don't know where that, which house is that? And then I looked it up, and I was like,
Big brick one.
That's the big brick one with the giant doors in the front.
Tom, you're looking for call firefighters though, right? So if you ever want
Andrews, he's,
That's the only thing he's not doing.
right. Actually, it's so true.
Do it with a smile, too.
Okay, so we also could maybe do
you do
something
the-
from the town administrator, assistant town administrator update?
Yep, Joe already did what, B and D?
He did B and D.
Joe did B and D?
Yep.
Yep, so maybe we could do F. We were going to talk about F. Or whatever off that list you think it would be.
Just for clarification, so we did the motion for the town meeting articles as far as the addendum to the report?
Yes, Paul made that
Yes.
motion.
Okay,
and-
good. Sorry.
Yes, it was by Matthew.
Okay. So, as I'm scrolling down to that report, as everyone knows, coming up, sorry, just getting my own notes in front of me. As everyone knows, coming up on June 15th, the state emergency is expiring. With that, and also with the expiration of the mask mandate, everything is somewhat returning back to pre-COVID from standpoint as far as use of buildings. You know, if people are vaccinated, they don't need to adhere to those same standards that we had been living in for the last year. However, one of the things that we're having a challenge here at 3337 Shattuck is that some of the space we had available is not available right now. Some of it's just temporary. So for example, the Cooper room was used for meetings. That right now is being used for storage as some equipment and stuff they're getting for the library, which will be opening in potentially 2 months. That sort of space that's not available for us to hold meetings. Likewise, the police station was also used for meetings, and while they are having equipment upgrades to make sure that they can also do hybrid, because of the envelope construction project, that's not going to be available until the fall. We do have some conflicts as far as at the fire station coming up this week. They are also getting equipment upgrades, so LCTV can do hybrid there, but they do have some trainings that they handle regularly, so that room isn't always available. And of course, the last thing, 307 is no longer available because that is the HR department. Working with LCTV, Mark Rory, as well as Dan Rory, what we wanted to do was basically just bring back meetings, but concentrating on the elected and the regulatory boards.
Yeah.
So that, for example, Planning Board, Conservation, ZBA, Board of Health, as well as the Select Board, and any others that are elected. Those get priority first. That gives us a chance to sort of evaluate meeting schedule nights and also what the demand is. And then we can work together to open it up for some of the other smaller committees. One of the benefits is that, and we're sort of like waiting because the governor's submitted legislation basically to take the open meeting requirements that were put on hold as part of the state of emergency and extending that to September 1st. So there's not going to be this huge push as far as needing to have a physical meeting to continue with town business. And as some of these boards also need to start to schedule public hearings, that's why we want to concentrate on the regulatory board, so that if they did want to meet in person, we weren't all of a sudden saying, well, Cultural Council is using 103 that night because they were the first ones in. We want to try to give those the priorities to those regulatory in order for us to really start to gauge what it looks like. Once we get to the fall anyways, and we have the library and we have Cooper Room opening up, the police station repairs finishing, I think we're going to be in much better shape to not to worry about it, but at least as the initial step, this is what staff is recommending on how to proceed.
Okay. Any questions?
I'm going to jump in. So we have potential to use light and water, not necessarily for filming meetings, but we have light and water. We have all the schools which have facilities available to us. We've met there in the past, and VFW. We could use the hall at the VFW for some meetings as well, to just as an interim basis for.
Yeah.
There are meetings, for instance, the EDC has never been a televised meeting. So that
Right.
could certainly be a meeting that could be held at any one of those other venues.
Yep, and that's where, because we have control over this building, at least we can sort of assist in facilitating, say if EDC wanted to meet, trying to identify what other locations, would be an opportunity and to try to at least facilitate that. But as far as, we're focusing right now on this building and then trying to coordinate with fire as well. The VFW is an excellent, point as well as far as making that available. We may want to, look into as far as what's necessary as far as logistics and scheduling, and what kind of groups then we want to set that up for as well.
Okay.
When the new library opens, I assume that's going to give us a lot more meeting space? And we're talking like September for that, is that correct?
Correct. They're looking at the last week of August as far as when they're essentially given the keys and given the okay to move in. They say it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks to move in. So you're talking about end of September. They'll be moved in. That'll be space, and then also some of the room like the
space,
Cooper.
yeah.
So we've got realistically like 3 months of this space crunch.
Yeah, and that's where we're definitely be creative and work with people. I mean, the main thing is that at least it looks like Zoom, and that was, I think, one of the worries was end of the state of emergency, Zoom isn't even an option anymore. That at least looks like it will allow us to sort of wean off Zoom a little bit.
Bridge the gap.
Right.
In order to then sort of get some of those arrangements together and work with other committees as far as what works. Because even some of the rooms here, I'm going to be working with that, just identifying what is a realistic capacity, so that if there's a room that only really seats 8, while it could accommodate a meeting if it was a committee of 5, we'd have to let them know that you get 3 more people in there. Actually, you may have to then continue your meeting to another night certain so that you can accommodate, because we can't have people in hallways and things if they can't fit into a room.
Okay. All right, excellent. Good. Good.
It's a work in progress.
Yep, we'll make it work.
There is a motion, though, you were looking for, correct?
If the board felt that it was necessary to have one, otherwise we're just going to be proceeding as sort of normal.
I don't think this is necessary,
I think
but
we're
thank
good.
you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now it's time for our public hearing, transfer station fees effective July 1st, 2021.
Can we read the public hearing ones?
Do you have a notice?
Ones? Yeah.
Oh, someone's going to read it. Is it here?
I don't know, I
I'll
didn't
read
see
it,
it.
Madam Chair, if you want.
Please.
Sure. The Littleton Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, June 7, 2021, at 7:30 PM on the proposed amendments to regulations and fees for the town transfer station effective July 1st, 2021, as shown below. Due to COVID-19, and the public hearing will be held in a restricted in-person manner in room 103 of the Town of Littleton Town Offices, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., with an additional remote participation via Zoom video conferencing. Details to be made available on the Select Board agenda when posted, a minimum of 48 hours prior to the meeting. In addition, the public hearing can be viewed live on LCTV or online at Littleton. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to the Select Board, Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460, or by email to selectmen@littletonma.org before noon on Thursday, June 3rd, 2021, or by Zoom participation at the meeting. Littleton Board of Selectmen, Cindy Napoli, Chairman.
Excellent.
Hello.
Good evening.
So I think this is the 4th time I've done this in front of you folks, and I'm happy to report that this is the first time we're not recommending rate increases. As you know, back in October, we were able to get the town voted to approve the new roll-off truck for us. That alone, that truck's gonna save us approximately $20,000 this year, so a 2.5% reduction in the budget up there. So with that, we were able to absorb a lot of the negative that we had from last year, which I think we discussed previously. So we are still showing a proposal of about a $13,000 negative in the account, but the department, we're working through some logistics on actually starting a curbside pickup for bulky items. We think, basically just the kind of big stuff, I guess washers, dryers, furniture, things that people can't get if you don't have a truck, can't get at the transfer station. For a fee. For a fee, yeah, of course. We're not quite sure what days, how often we're gonna do it, maybe once a month, twice a month. So we haven't quite worked through all the logistics of it yet. But we believe with that, we can make up that $13,000 negative in the transfer station budget.
Using the roll-off?
Yeah, using a combination of that and actually some of our regular trucks, depending on, all of our trucks have lift tailgates, so those actually might be more beneficial to use. It reduces the risk of injuries to the staff. So that's obviously more information to come once we kind of finalize the dates. We'll be back in front of you guys to talk through that and kind of outline the fees and things like that. One of the other big things we are doing this year is we're going to online sticker sales. So that way you don't have to necessarily go up to the shed and hand them the card. You can do it right online. It's actually available right now. So we put it on our transfer station website. We've linked it to the news and announcements tabs on the front page, as well as DPW, highway, and transfer station. So hopefully it should be fairly easy to find. We've actually had a few people already start buying stickers. The intention this year is actually to go to all electronic. So if you want to pay with a check, we're not actually going to accept the check. We're going to hand you the tablet, and you can type in your checking account information, and then you get to keep your check. We're trying to eliminate having to have staff from up there bringing processing things. Yeah, it's relatively inefficient. So we're hoping this is going to work. We think it is. We've tested it multiple times already in-house, so fingers crossed. I think that's it. But like I said, no rate increases this year. So.
Excellent.
Including the bulk items,
nothing.
The propane tanks,
yeah,
and TVs.
All the miscellaneous recyclables, everything is going to stay the same. No increases across the board.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah, good news.
Excellent news. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Stoddard?
I'm just going to jump in, just because I've already asked you the question, but I think it might be good to get it out there for other people. You don't specifically call out lawnmowers, tractors, those kinds of things as bulk items. There is no fee schedule for those types of items, but you do accept them.
Yes. So those actually we accept for free, because as long as it's the majority of the product is metal, we can throw it in a metal dumpster, and we actually get money.
Make money
from
on it.
Yeah, we make money from it. So we don't charge for things like that. If it's all metal bed frame, bring it up, just throw it away, because it's a lot better than. No, we make money. That's why we don't charge for it.
Right.
Anything that we make money on, we don't charge for.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, just to let people know, because.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Excellent. Well, great work, Chris.
Yeah,
Thank you
great.
so much. Excellent. Good news,
This is an easy one to vote on.
right?
Since we're in hearing mode, Madam Chair, we probably should see if there's anyone waiting to be heard at the hearing before we
True.
close the hearing, before we vote on the
Right.
closing.
Thank you, Mr. Glavy.
Yeah.
Currently, we do not have any hands raised for comment on this.
Okay, good.
Then
Excellent.
I'll
Ready for a motion?
First move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call?
I don't think it has to be a roll call, does it?
I don't think so, no.
No. Okay, so if there isn't any further discussion, Madam Chair, I'll just go forward with the motion.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Move that the Select Board vote pursuant to Town Code Chapter 181 to establish the following fee structure for use of the Town of Littleton Transfer Station effective July 1st, 2021. Stickers, full price, $140, senior, $70, second sticker, $70, per bag, 33-gallon, $325, 15-gallon, $225, 8.5-gallon, $125.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved as written.
Thank you.
Excellent.
you.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. So now we are back to our item 9,
All right. So, if I may, Madam Chair?
please.
The first one, letter A, I put this in here as evaluation. This was off of my memory. This is how I remember the Select Board doing it, where you would assign 2 members to evaluate, do the evaluations, or gather evaluations for the TA, police chief, and fire chief. So I threw this on as it's that time of the year.
Okay. All right, so we'll go right down the list. We can start with town administrator, select board members. We need to appoint 2 to do the evaluation for the town administrator. I don't know if there's,
I think we just did the police and fire, right?
Yeah, in fact, Matthew and I, in the context of doing the contract negotiation with Chief Wadzinski, were also doing his review at
oh,
the
you
time.
did? Okay,
Yes.
all right. But we did not do Chief Penard's.
But you easily could, probably, right? Whoever it was. it
No, we
was-
did it last year.
But I mean, you and Joe did the negotiation,
Yeah, we
right?
did the negotiations, yeah. So we could easily enough do his yeah, because we did Chief Penard's, it was you and I
Yeah.
last year, Chuck. So Joe and I could do that easily enough this year. So we'll take that.
I'll jump in on Anthony.
And then,
As the inbound chair, I'll jump in.
okay,
One for Anthony.
yeah, okay. And then,
Actually, historically, the chair did the town administrator,
okay,
and then the remaining 4 select board members divvied up the police and fire.
okay,
I'm perfectly happy to do
It's fine.
2 members as the town administrator, but
okay.
we all, or if you want
No, you can do, because you're incoming, yeah, so.
to, well, if you can do it before Saturday.
All right, so you can do it. You can do the town administrator. Joe and I will do the chief of police, and then fire.
We were already off the hook.
Already
We already
done.
did it. Yep.
Yep, so,
Check.
good, done.
Is it
Look
2
at
or
that.
just you?
Oh.
Can I have another-
Do you want to?
Can I have somebody else? No, I'm just teasing.
That's
Okay, all
funny.
right, so we do have a motion.
I don't think it requires a motion.
No, just
Oh.
assignments. I mean,
No, it's just assignments.
Just a
Just so
placeholder.
there's no
There was a motion if you
question.
want.
as long as it's in the
Do we
minutes.
have a special format that we've used in the past? Because
Yes, in fact, Matthew and I found that very helpful. We had the previous year's review, which you had done, Chief Wadzinski's.
Yeah, and-
We used that as a basis, we went over it, and then we filled out a new one for him, or we're in the process of doing that, when he said, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
So, I think it's a good practice to take that form and distribute it to the full board.
Yeah.
So you get the full flavor, but the two folks, or the one person that's doing the actual in-person evaluation, kind of aggregates that information, and then the individual, whether it's the police chief, the fire chief, or the town administrator, gets a copy of theirs, and they do it as well. That way, I think you get a good flavor.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. The other thing I was just gonna add, just in recent and periodic conversations with town council, this is the way we're really supposed to be doing this, is after we do our individual sessions, it's gotta come back to the board in public session, the reviews. So that's where the reviews are,
right,
to do it legally.
Actually, yeah, thinking back to school committee, that's exactly what we did.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 5 members did their own evaluations. 1 or 2 members sat down with the superintendent.
Solicit input, and then, but then at the end of the day, it's gotta be a public process.
right, okay. All right, so fire chief's completed, so,
But do you want to keep them on there for the year? Is this an assignment?
I
We
mean,
just want to get them down for right now because the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
That's what we
let's do that.
traditionally do.
we could finish up our form and, and circulate it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that was gonna be my question. Do we wanna wait for Joe and I to finish, Chief Penard's, Chuck to finish?
Oh,
Mr.
yeah, when you guys are all done
And
your
then
part, we'll just do it
and then
all,
we'll do
I would say do it
together.
all at once
That was
sometime,
my
and,
point, yeah.
doesn't have to be done anytime soon, but I mean, early July.
after town meeting or,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so, Anthony, you can provide Joe and I with a copy of Chief Bernard's evaluation from last year.
Yeah, we'll get that.
Right?
That's the problem I had with Chief last year. I had to wait for, Chase never turned his in, so I could never, I couldn't get the evaluation go. We did that late, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Get him
This
back.
has historically
Is
been
he
done
still
late.
out there
Because I-
TV land?
I delayed you a couple of years in a row.
Okay.
And then he goes and quits us.
Retired, he didn't quit. He retired. Well deserved.
Nobody younger than me can be retiring, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, great. So next, Mr. Ansaldi?
Sure. So, Madam Chair, with Chief Wazinski's pending retirement on June 30th, I took the liberty of just kind of throw some information in the packet for you as far as search firms, some that do it. And I got a couple of quotes, one from Community Paradigm, who would actually work with Chief Parrow, I forget his first name, John Parrow. They would put in, they would do the process together, and MRI submitted a proposal as well. And, I just threw it in there just as a starting point for the board for discussion. Certainly, I'm not advocating for anything, and just threw some stuff in there.
Right.
And then what to do as far as, interim. And you do have time before Chief's retirement date, but I just wanted to have the board have that conversation to start.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ansaldi. Yeah, certainly, so this is the first time that we've collectively been together since Chief Wazinski did announce his retirement. So thank you for putting this on the agenda so that we could have this discussion, certainly. So I don't, first of all, I want to just say thank you to Chief Wazinski for his years of service to the town, certainly. And, now we'll have to undertake the process as we have done, in the past, most recently with the police chief and with the town administrator, and have a discussion amongst the board about how do we want to move forward, how do we want to proceed with this process. So I'm just going to leave it open to discussion amongst the board since we haven't had an opportunity to talk about this.
All right, there's actually two parts of it. It would be the interim.
Yep.
And then the process that you've started to lay out and what we might do in the future. But,
right.
So do we want to talk about interim right now? 'Cause,
yeah.
Well,
yeah, we can do that.
Personally, I think we have the interim sitting right here, in my opinion. We have a deputy chief there for a reason. And when Chief Wazinski goes on vacation, who runs the department? You have the deputy run it. So you have someone who's been there all these years, has the qualities, has all the requirements of a fire chief. I think you've gone through all the work. So I don't see any reason at this point for going outside in the interim to have an interim chief.
Okay.
I'm in agreement too. Just fresh eyes, we were in getting an update on the department, but it just reminded me of, the various major projects going on through there, and Deputy Chief Clancy's been a partner with Chief Wazinski for all those years. In fact, I think you came on, when you became chief, you became deputy at the same time, is that?
1 year.
1 year? Yeah, okay, so, the transition, I think, would be seamless, and buys us the time to consider what else we might want to do beyond that. But in the short term, I have no hesitation to, if he's ready. He hasn't spoken yet, but if he's willing, I should say. I know he's ready.
Okay. Mr. DeCoste?
Yeah, I mean, it's, given the kind of the short order, I think that it's a, for an interim basis, I think Tom's, he knows the players. To Paul's point, he's been Chief Wazinski's right-hand man. And I would hope that if Tom felt as though it was something that was you have taken on the role as the deputy of fire prevention officer, so you've got a lot on your plate as the deputy. So I would want to make sure that we had something in place, whether it be a mentor in yourself or Joe, or perhaps even the police chief, to act as kind of your manager, your mentor, to give you that some level of department headism. You do it when Scott's on vacation, frankly, and we've never had any issues, and it's been seamless. We haven't noticed that Chief's been gone, so I don't think it would be an issue on an interim basis.
You will in 20 days.
All right. So I guess that was going to be my...
I meant that as a compliment to you.
My question, and maybe to Mr. Clancy can answer this, as far as taking on the role as interim and then the other duties that you currently perform, other duties, transitioning into the interim chief position, what other duties do you feel that there might be a shortfall or a gap created by undertaking this role as the interim?
Okay, well, that's a fair question. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. First and foremost, the hardest thing is going to be not having him around, because it's hard. He's always around, you know. But that being said, I have to delegate some of my fire prevention duties, and that mostly comes down to inspections. I've spoken to the lieutenants. Generally speaking, I do all the inspections, but some of those I can delegate down to the day staff, and that's what I would do. And that plan reviews and whatnot, those are things I still do. I'll still field questions. But I think in the short term, you know, if we were saying you're interim for a year, that's not realistic. But I think as the board gets together and says, hey, a process is gonna get going, you know, the department will carry on. I'll have more responsibility, but fire prevention is my biggest time right now. That's what I spend the most time on. But I can delegate some of the day-to-day inspections that I do to them.
Okay. All right, good.
Can I ask a quick
Please.
question?
Yep.
I don't even know this is the thing.
Okay.
When the building commissioner needs to have somebody kind of step in, the Harvard inspector came over and kind of covered us for a little while. Is there a pool of candidates that we could potentially bring back as a fire prevention officer on a part-time basis to try to pick up that slack? Because the lieutenants, depending upon the day, you know, the day staff may be unable to get to it
Right.
the same way that you got to it.
Most of them aren't that critical from a standpoint of when you look right now at overall in the town, Cooper Farm's not getting off the ground. Thurkey's not got the first house in the ground.
Okay.
It's
The point, that kind of thing? Yeah.
So even Joe can attest to a smoking CO. Sometimes we're not exactly on prompt on those because emergencies pop up and you can't control that. But for that, you know, if he's got a closing, he's not calling me the day before.
Sometimes.
I was trying to say that. But, you know, I don't usually, hey, I'm closing tomorrow, can you come? Because the certificate's good for 60 days. So I would say that the easy answer is it's a union position that I'm filling. So bringing somebody in, the contract's written that the chief can appoint the deputy to fill it in the event we can't fund it, kind of thing. So that would be a little tricky bringing somebody.
Yep, that's a perfect answer.
And
Yeah.
I've got mutual aid chiefs too, that, you know, in Groton and in Air, and all the mutual aid chiefs will be another resource for me.
Yeah.
As I need help. Whether it's on an emergency scene or just in general, because they've all experienced what every chief has, it's just in a different environment, different town. So I have that as a really big resource, and I've already had, you know, conversations with Scott about what do you do? You know, he's like, it's like mutual aid, but it's phone a friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a huge resource out there. The surrounding chiefs they always step up, and you're not recreating the wheel. Somebody's done it in the past.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it would be a huge help. And another resource that he does have, if there's some significant, you know, commercial projects or something like that, is the state. And the state fire marshal's office also offers a hand for, you know, major plan review or something like that. So there are a few things that would, you know, eligible to be out there to give assistance, and, you know, during that time frame.
Probably wouldn't be fair to approach Bruce Larson, since every 10 years or so we seem to bring him out of retirement to be active.
Bruce is a little upset. He had to buy a pickup truck with electric windows. I'm very mad about that. Couldn't get the hand crank windows. No lie.
Yeah, and I believe it. Yeah, but he bailed us out in a couple of situations over the years. Did great work, too.
Okay. All right, so that pretty much solves the discussion regarding the interim.
Actually, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, I'm curious, you know, you said, you know, if this went on for a year, that would be no good. I'm curious about, can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what's the gap there?
I would say that if we were in an interim position in January still, then we'd have to look at, so interim makes it hard because we have a budget put forth for fiscal '22 and it doesn't allow for a deputy and a chief, per se, in the middle of the year. So it would be more on a financial standpoint, that in order to say at the middle of, if we got to 6 months and we're sitting down again saying, where do we stand, then I'm gonna need some help at that point, I would think. And I don't know how to quantify the help other than in 6 months, that would be a lot to handle by myself.
Just from an administrative point of view?
Administrative, I mean, you're doing, there's just so many, I do 2 full-time jobs now. And this is my 3rd and 4th. So let's say we get into October and we have another flu season of some type, right? Now my emergency management director hat, as the chief can allude to, and during this pandemic, he was 7 days a week, all the time, the phone was ringing. It was COVID, it was whatever it might be. Or we could be just going along and everything's fine, but that's the nature of our business is you can plan, but then there's other things that pop up that you can't foresee. So I would say if we got into a 6-month period, then we might have to look at saying, I need a fire prevention person in here or something that we have to, in that respect.
Okay.
Is there no one in the union now who can do the fire prevention work?
They can, so they all have, they can take a basic online course to do the smoke and CO inspections. They can go and do those.
Mhm.
That's an online course. It's when you get into the plan reviews. Somebody's renovating their home or a commercial building retrofit, they don't have the, they haven't taken the classes to do that like I have.
Okay.
Is there another alternative that just, you guys are in the industry, so to speak, right? So I know that there was recently a hiring in Boxborough, and I believe that former chief lives in Littleton. Is resources like that person or others available that could potentially help you or help us as on an interim basis, or
in what way?
As an interim, or so that you can retain the 2 jobs that you're doing right now as deputy chief and as fire prevention officer. If we had somebody that came in to try to take some of the chief load off, is that something, and even potentially have Scott here on an interim basis a couple days a week, or I'm trying to figure out if there is some stopgap way to help you to be able to do what you're charged with doing right now beyond the 30th of June.
I think that's entirely, if the board saw fit to bring in an interim chief, someone else, that's your prerogative. I think to have Scott come back on a part-time basis would be fantastic. I'm not speaking for you.
Scott's giving you the hairy eyeball.
I don't think I need somebody 5 days a week, but there will be times when it would be nice to have someone familiar with the department come in. I guess as opposed to someone from outside the department, and then I'm just going to spend all my time explaining what they need to do.
Yeah,
I see that counterproductive.
I'm not sure why we're even debating whether we have the perfect interim person sitting in front of us who knows everything.
Over time, we might determine.
Well, sure, but I mean,
we might find out that there are. He might determine, hey, I've figured out where I need help. He may not know that today, but he may know that in the middle of July.
Yeah.
It could also be an option where, you offer it out to the union, and between a couple of them with some of their experience, that they would be, capable of coming in on overtime, say a day or 2 a week, just to do some of the fire prevention stuff.
It would kind of.
And you'd be able to make that up with, within that budget.
If I may make a
Please.
recommendation, I'd be happy to, maybe with a select board member or 2, work with Deputy Clancy on obviously we have to work out a contract too, even on the interim basis. And then we can also look at other transitions that would support the fire prevention, whether that be working out a classification for another one of the union firefighters or something else, but happy to do that if you'd like with a member or 2 of the board, myself.
I'd like to do that, actually. I've been speaking to Scott about his contract.
Similarly, we were both just involved in that. We might have, I don't know, if something we said caused all this.
Do you want to get together?
I would agree.
Yeah,
I'd like to be
I'd
involved
like to
if
as
the
well.
board would like to.
Okay.
I mean,
So I'll
That's
sit
fine
down
with
with
me. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And, yeah, we get to the 30th, but we should probably set a goal to come back with something that the board would consider for our next meeting, I would think, right?
Yeah,
On
whatever,
21st, right?
yeah.
Right.
At the very least, I'm sure
Yeah,
we
try
can work
to
out
get some
okay.
resolution.
Right,
Yeah.
right, so we're gonna need to, Anthony and.
Fast track it.
Fast track it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Happy to work with you, whatever we can arrange, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I
Whomever
need to
would
start
be-
gathering information too, and whatever you and Matthew would like.
Yeah, and I'm sure Scott's given it some thought too.
Yeah.
And whomever it were to be, would need to be sworn in by the 30th, so that they can, take
Well, I think we've
control.
got consensus
after
that
the
we're
state.
looking to work with Deputy Chief Tom here in that capacity, just kind of filling out the details of how it's gonna work.
Okay. All right, so you'll work collectively, Matthew, you all.
Yeah, and I
on
think
the
I speak to
interim
Matthew,
incident.
we welcome input. If people have ideas of things we ought to make sure are addressed, included.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now so that's the interim piece of it, so now it's a discussion regarding
Process.
the process for, what is our, do we have a policy of the hiring,
No,
like we do with the fire?
no, I look back at, well, first of all, I would recommend, because of our influx right now at the HR department, that we have a firm conduct the search and go and handle the entire process. If the board chooses to do that, then you could now appoint a screening committee to review those, instead of a search committee. So when we went to the police chief, because we kept everything internal, the search committee was doing a lot of the function that now the hired recruitment firm would do.
Okay.
So, really, because of our HR and not having an HR director right now, that would be my recommendation, that we look for a firm to do that, and then at some point, the board appoint a screening committee to just dwindle down the number of applicants that you want before you to do final interviews. That would be my suggestion to the board.
Okay.
Any conversation from here until now on resolve it is appropriate, but I don't want to, this stuff is new information that just landed here, and especially if it involves outfits. Looking back at the past couple of times we've used outside outfits, I'm not thrilled with their final product, but, I'm not opposed to a process, but I'm a little, I'll be looking at these applicants with a gimlet eye.
I have done some vetting of one of the leads in one of these consulting firms, and have gotten extremely high reviews from a couple of communities that this individual's worked in, not only for the search process, but also to go in and do an evaluation of the entire department. All of the work that this individual has done has been relative to fire departments, whereas many of the other firms out there, they're looking for town administrators, they're looking for finance directors, they're looking for library directors. This one individual, it was very focused on fire service.
Well, I think in the interest of due diligence, I'm not interested in hearing all about that, but I'll tell you, I'm not so certain that this isn't analogous to the situation when John Kelly retired and Matt King was his deputy and had been his partner for years, and we didn't end up doing a process there too. But it's fully this board's decision, so I'm not suggesting otherwise, but I'm willing to explore everything. I just don't want to jump into anything.
Agreed.
Well,
We should take the time and make sure we get it right.
well, I mean, I think personally, so we have, when is your last day, Chief Wadzinski?
June 30th.
Yeah, so we don't really have, a large notice here, like, we don't really have a lot of bandwidth. As far as when Chief Wadzinski will be leaving, we have a deputy chief who has said that he will step in as interim, but has concerns if it's a longer assignment.
Right.
So I do think that there's some urgency here with respect to making a decision about how we move forward sooner rather than later. And I do take, what Mr. Ansaldi said with respect to we don't have an HR director right now.
Right.
And having been involved in search committees in the past, which I think everybody on this board has, maybe with the exception of Mr. Nordhaus, is you really need someone driving the bus with respect to this whole process. So that being said, I'm really leaning towards utilizing an outside firm to drive this process on our behalf and help us get to that point. Then we have the search committee come in, that we assign and have them screen the applicants that are brought forward. But I just think in an effort to actually move this forward in an expeditious manner, we really need to be cognizant of, where we're at staff-wise and time-wise as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in a lot of hiring, and I recognize the sort of ridiculous time commitment it is to actually vet people. And I'm also, just like Mr. Glavy, like really anxious about using a third party because you just don't know. I mean, there's no good solution here, I guess is what I'm saying. I would feel better if the consultant did have some direct recommendations from people that we trust, and they had gone through a similar process and gotten a good result.
What if we did this? Anthony's identified a couple of firms. I mean, do we have to, Joe's a 30B thing, we have to put it out there, an RFP, or can we ask some people to give us, I mean, we've got a couple of possibilities in front of us. Do we bring them in and maybe another one in and sit down, maybe a couple of us sit down and interview them?
We could have them come in for the next meeting, and they could go talk about the process, because it is time consuming. To Cindy's point, it'll take them probably 30 days to come up with the the community profile and the marketing material. Then it's a 30-day post for the job, and then it's setting up interviews with the screening committee and going through that. So, we easily can go through 6 months. And to Tom's point, a year is, if it's not something that the board does jump on.
All that, just bringing in these outfits already presumes that's the process we're going to
No, that's just the interview, if that was what the board wanted.
To see if that's something,
Right.
I can do a good marketing piece and put something out there to get someone to hire me.
Right.
But seeing them in front of us and seeing if they have a good feel for it, and to Matthew's point, getting some feedback from some communities that these folks have.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to hearing from anybody. I think the most important task in a time, in the chronology, is to get something set up with Tom on the interim basis.
Yeah, I think that's already been put to bed, and you guys are gonna work on that.
Well, we gotta do it.
Yeah.
But if we bring in a firm, we just talked about right now, these two that are in here now, they wouldn't come in, if we had some, I guess I'm trying to say, if we have somebody come in, would they be coming in just to give us ideas on how to do it? They're not here to sell themselves, are they?
They would go through.
I would interview them.
Yeah, they would explain what they've done, other type of searches they've ran, their success in attracting candidates.
But I guess my question is, there's only two here. Are there other ones out there that are more qualified or that we can look at? I just sort of want to limit ourselves to two that appear right here.
There could be others. We could reach out to the Collins Center and.
Did you reach out to our chief? Maybe he knows some folks who do this for a living.
The person that does a lot of the fire ones is John Parrow, who is.
Is that affiliated with the Bernie Lynch outfit?
Bernie was going to hire him so they could pair together and do that.
Okay. All right, so maybe.
Just rode that train.
Mr. Insaldi, if you could reach out, maybe come up with a couple other organizations other than what's been here. Reach out to the Collins Center, like you mentioned. And we'll go from there on that. But we do have a process in the short term with respect to addressing the interim.
Yes.
Okay.
I just have one more comment. I think the easy solution is for you just to stay, Scott. Lord knows I tried. And I also want to say that, I think maybe the first time I met you was when my house burned to the ground. And since then,
He's gotten better since then.
He's gotten better. That was, so you're saying they could have saved it, but no. And over the last 18 months, I think you have been a voice of calm and reason during this crazy COVID pandemic and the Life Care Center. And every time I heard you speak, you had the answers and you were rational and you were just, I think your leadership of your department was exemplary, and I can't say enough good stuff about you. And I'm kind of just heartbroken that you're leaving. And you know, and for 30 years before COVID, you were helping make Littleton safe. So thank you. You know, you have my heartfelt gratitude, and I hope you enjoy some time off because Lord knows you've earned it.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay. All right, good.
One more
Oh,
year. One more
Yeah,
year.
I'm like,
One more year.
do we have anything? Do we?
Do we on to the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Sorry.
yes.
Couple of quick ones here. Anthony.
Sure,
Come on now.
sure. Similar to the fire department,
Did we come to a conclusion? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forgot Chuck was in the room, so Anthony's gonna reach out
I'm
and,
gonna reach out to more firms, see what other firms are out there, see if I can get some more quotes, and then,
Okay.
then we could set them up for a meeting.
come in and meet with the board and see
Yeah.
what they would offer and see if it's something we're interested in.
Right,
Yeah.
The whole board.
Yes.
the whole board, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so similar to the fire department, we have the finance department transition. So, although we have
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Although we have CLA that's going to be coming in doing the accounting function for us, I do think that there is an additional burden that's going to be put upon our assistant finance director to carry the load as far as the supervisor of the day-to-day of both sides now. So if the board's so inclined, I'd like to, for you to consider elevating Sean right now, O'Brien, as the interim finance director until we are able to secure a finance director.
Okay.
What risk are we at if we don't have a finance director?
You know, it's just a matter of supervisory and just for the staff to look up to somebody, Chuck. So granting days off, keeping order in both departments, the financial side and the treasurer side and the accounting side.
That's not something, I'm sorry, Joe, but that's not something that could fall on Joe.
Joe's kind of dealing with the HR right now, so he's wearing a few hats himself right now.
I mean, Bonnie's role was assistant TA and.
Right. Yeah, you know, I think under a different circumstance, Chuck, I'd say, yeah, that we probably could do that. Like, just like the time when I was the assistant, I became your Elder and Human Services temporary. So, but I think with right now, with the HR that Joe's really been working on, unless you feel differently, I think that Joe's.
That's where, I mean, we have a lot of positions in HR, is one of those that we're filling, actually two of them. So there's a lot of work within those, coordinating those activities for all these positions that.
As well as our assistant.
Right, exactly.
I have a comfort level with Sean in the year, a little more than a year he's been here. I mean, it's not an ideal situation for any of us. I'm sure you'd agree that, but of the folks we have on board, if your professional instinct and advice is that that's what we should do, then I think that's what we should do. I mean, it's not the long-term solution,
No.
unless it is, but
No,
but in the interim, it's the right thing to do.
Right now, it's just the interim. We have two applicants so far for finance director. So we'll see what happens, but I would only see this as being a short term right now. Something different, then I come back to the board with another plan.
He's a hockey goalie, so I know that he'll be cool as a cucumber. He won't have any problem. All the shots we fire at. So.
Okay.
And we gotta have somebody in place. I mean, it's.
Yeah, so at the next board meeting, I'd come back with a recommendation as far as what we would give him for a little stipend or bump up for the time being, similar to what we did with Stephen Udi when he assumed that role.
Okay.
And you talked with Sean about this, I assume?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
He didn't run.
Scampered. Sean's a good team player.
I anticipate he would be.
All right, that sounds good.
All right.
Get some soil to remove here.
Soil, Joe?
Yep. So, Anthony sent out a revised draft of the soil removal amendment decision that town council, also the applicants, council had gone over a couple last-minute edits that I had also asked for at the end of last week. So by email, you'd have the final permit language, as well as then attached bond information to act as security for the next few months as well. I do see in the, as an attendee, we have Attorney McKay for the Fields who's raising his hand, I assume to speak regarding that as well, if the board would like.
Is there anything to debate? I mean,
Right.
it sounds like we are all aligned on moving forward to the September 15th date.
Right. Yeah, there wasn't, nothing of contention, so
Nope.
I think we're good.
Yeah, in fact, I was, I don't know if I'd mentioned it at the meeting, but I really was heartened by the dialogue between both the neighbors and John Dirk and Ann Madfield, and their, willingness to come up and, talk with them, and
Right.
not to, sugar over the issues, but, I think there was a legitimate effort to mitigate to the extent they can, and I think the neighbors, they really showed themselves as very reasonable folks.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so.
We want to have Mr. McKay lower his hand unless he has something new that he
Yeah,
needs
is there
to
anything
discuss
that
with
he
the
wants to
board.
add, or?
I think he may have just heard that, so if Mr. McKay, if you wanted to lower your hand, if you're all set, unless there's new information. And he lowered his hand.
Oh, he's
just raised it.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
maybe you want to
So,
bring him in.
all right, sure, please.
Hi, folks.
Good evening.
Thanks. Good evening, Madam Chair. David McKay from Mark O'Connell. I'll be extremely brief. I just wanted to make sure, and thank you for hearing me, that you had the proper version of the amended permit. I did speak with, or I should say, I traded messages with town council this afternoon, and we finished up the latest version. The version that's in your packet was not the latest one, so that was the only reason I wanted to mention and make sure that you had the latest version from today.
We did.
Correct,
Yes.
Mr. McKay. I did get that email later this afternoon from town council and did forward that off to the board. They realize it's a different version than the one in their packet.
Okay, very well then. Thank you very much for hearing me, folks.
Great,
Thank you. Madam Chair, the last thing, I just want to say, it's your last meeting, full meeting here of the board, so it's been a pleasure under your leadership for the past 6 months of me being back here, so did a good job and pass the baton over to Chuck, but I just wanted to recognize you and say thank you for your leadership.
A productive full year. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Ansaldi, and looking forward to taking the back seat somewhat. And,
Sure she will.
Did we make a motion on this?
I was just going to ask, I don't think we did.
On that?
Because the board, it's the board to
Oh, man, I guess we
approve
did.
the
Okay, I'm sorry.
amended
Thank you
permit.
for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Nice job stealing Cindy's thunder, Joe.
Yeah. Joe's like, yeah. We got a motion here.
Legal requirements
We
that
can
we
continue,
have.
I just wanted
Sure, he's like, move over.
All right, we'll get that out of the way first. And I'll move that the board vote to approve the amended soil removal permit for 9 Air Road dated June 7, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Now
is
go ahead.
approved as
I'm
written. Now it's about me.
Now
Back
it's
to
about,
me.
now it's about.
Motion to adjourn.
Hey. Enjoy it while you can. So, right?
He's sitting right there,
Oh, yours.
Cindy.
No, I know.
I can hear you.
Oh, I know he is. No, but thank you,
don't have
Anthony,
to.
I appreciate that. So the select board is reorganizing after town meeting. That's something that we voted on, just so the public, whoever is watching, knows. Mr. DeCos will be resuming the position of chair of the board. Mr. Glavy will be vice chair, and Mr. Nordhaus will be clerk. So we will be back for our regularly scheduled meeting after town meeting, and what is that date? June
21st.
June 21st, but we are looking forward to seeing everybody Saturday at Alumni Field at 9 a.m. for town meeting.
Yeah.
Sunscreen.
Although we're meeting at 8:30, right?
Right, we'll have a posted
We'll be
meeting.
there
at 8:30.
earlier. And so that concludes our meeting for
Do you
this
have minutes?
evening.
Did you guys
We
do
approve
the
the
minutes?
minutes?
Already did.
We did.
Did you already
Yeah,
do the minutes?
We've done
Okay.
everything, yeah.
Before we adjourn, can I just throw
Yeah.
it, I don't think my son sent me anything, but for members' updates, I mentioned all of the athletes, but the theater department put together a production of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And Adam was the director, I don't even know what he was, the director, the producer, the chief bottle washer. He's sending me something now.
He's like, really, Dad?
Yeah, I know, right? All right, so LHS Drama has announced a June 16th premiere for their movie version of Romeo and Juliet. Stay tuned for more details about the full plan for the release, including a YouTube streaming option.
Nice. Nice.
They were filming it
I can't wait
around
to
town.
see
I've
it.
spotted them at a couple of
Yeah.
times.
They used the playgrounds around town. It's really, it's pretty clever the way they did it, and there was a lot of participation. I think there were 22 students that were actually in the cast, and there was a number of students that were involved in filming and editing and, a lot of the support
That's
groups.
really cool.
And,
Have a
a lot
red
of-
carpet
Yeah.
at O'Neill
Ooh.
Cinemas. Get a, oh, sorry. Maybe that was in the works.
No, it's excellent. I'm really looking
Stay
forward to it.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
So, all right, excellent. All right, good.
Thank you for
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second, all those in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody. See you Saturday.
Good to
Thank
see you
thank
all
you,
in
Madam
person
Chair.
now.